Hello, Bills Mafia. My name is Bryce Vega, and I just need to get something out of my chest. I cannot put into words just how disappointing these past couple of games from the Buffalo Bills have been. I mean, I knew that the Indianapolis Colts game was going to be tough. The Colts are a good team, but to lose like that, especially after the Bills had already lost to the Jaguars in embarrassing fashion. And now they have four losses in the conference. I'm full blown panic mode, and I think this team might not make it to the playoffs. And I'm starting to feel like the Patriots are just gonna win the division. And that might be a lot of it might just be 20 years of the Brady Belichick era and me just thinking, oh boy, here we go again. Hopefully we get into the wild card, but I'm starting to think that winning the division is just a pipe dream. And that's just so disappointing with all the talent in this team. I, as a Josh Allen fan, I find it very difficult for me to put much blame in our quarterback, especially when he's been the one good quarterback we've had it since Drew Bledsoe. But, he has his own issues. That's fine. Not every quarterback's going to have perfect games all the way throughout. But I'm really frustrated with this coaching staff. I've never been a big McDermott fan. Sean McDermott is a good culture guy. And I think he himself has always been a very disciplined person. But for whatever reason, there's always been this narrative that because Sean McDermott himself is a disciplined person, that somehow that translates over to his team, that his team is going to be disciplined. And I just don't, I that's never been the case in my opinion. Now I should probably look up some pro football stat or some advanced analytics that maybe shows that the Buffalo Bills under Sean McDermott are actually a very disciplined team. But I'm thinking back into the 2020 season and remembering all those Brian Winners false starts, all those holding penalties, and the Buffalo Bills, at one point during the 2020 season were like the most penalized team. So it's never been like the Bills were this great, you know, this great team that's never gets penalized like the New England Patriots. And to see them come in after, come start the season off with a dud against the Steelers, then lose a heartbreaker against the Titans, and that is what it is. But then just lay an egg against the Jaguars, and then come in against the Colts and just get punched in the mouth, and then they just lay down like a, I'm sorry to be so graphic, but like a cheap hooker. It's like, come on, guys. I, at least for my own sanity, I'm like starting to feel like I need a divorce from this team for this season and just say, no more expectations. If you win, hooray! Thank God. If you lose, I'm already preparing for you to not make the playoffs, Buffalo Bills. I love you. I sincerely do. I buy a new jersey every year, and to be honest, um, I feel like this season's a bit of a wash at this point. I mean, sure, a lot of things were going against the Buffalo Bills for this game against the Colts, but you can't tell me that Spencer Brown gets COVID and suddenly the offense has to be awful, you know, from top to bottom. Spencer Brown just plays right tackle, guys. He can't be this integral part to the team that if he's out, the whole offense just sucks. We saw the Green Bay Packers play, you know, backups to the backups on their offensive line, and they were still winning games. I think I don't even know if David Bakhtiari is back, but he was gone at least the first 6 or 7 games of the season. And Aaron Rodgers still found Devontae Adams and any other Green Bay wide receiver that plays for them. So really, one tackle goes out and you're gonna play like this? Same thing on the defensive end. Really, Star Lotulelei goes out and you can't stop the run? Come on. I don't know why the Bills didn't at least try to address the one tech position. There's no real one tech behind Star Lotulelei. Don't say Vernon Butler. Don't say Harrison Phillips. They're not adequate one tech backups to Star Lotulelei. And Star Lotulelei, I mean, all we heard from last season why the Buffalo Bills defense was so bad, or at least not as good as they've been under Sean McDermott, was, well, you don't have your one tech. So we just keep rotating all these guys around the interior of the defensive line. And you're gonna tell me that your system is so rigid, so there's no room for error, that if one guy in your defensive line is gone, you can't stop the run? Come on. This is like my issue with Sean McDermott. And I know he's a good coach, and I know that as a Bills fan, I should not be complaining about Sean McDermott because, oh my god, look at the awful slew of coaches we've had during the drought, right? But I'm starting to think, and this might be just a total overreaction from me, like Sean McDermott is just another Mike Zimmer from the Minnesota Vikings. Good defensive coordinator, head coach, will make some noise in the playoffs, but ultimately he's not going to take you to the promised land. I'm so afraid that that's who Sean McDermott is. For a couple of years, people were comparing Sean McDermott to who was the guy from the Cincinnati Bengals, Marvin Lewis, and the moment that Sean McDermott won his first playoff game, all the Sean McDermott apologists said, "Well, see, Marvin Lewis never won a playoff game, so obviously Sean McDermott is greater than Marvin Lewis." But still, does anybody look at McDermott and say, "Yeah, this is a Super Bowl winning head coach"? I don't. But at the same time, I'm just a fan. So what do I know? All I know is I don't see Sean McDermott and get a lot of confidence out of him. I just don't. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to have expectations and then not meet them. And I guess it was nice to have expectations at one point because for the longest time I would just watch the Bills because I loved the Bills and I didn't have any expectations attached to them. So it's a bit of a tricky situation as a fan. But I feel like if you're going to give me expectations, I hope that at the end of those expectations, at least one Super Bowl will come out of it. And maybe that's gonna be the case. But I I gotta be honest, and part of the reason why I feel so panicky about it is the Patriots are back. They're not going anywhere, and that's just concerning. Like at first, I thought Bill Belichick is just going to hang around the AFC East. He's gonna rattle off a couple of wins. He's gonna try to beat Shula's all-time winning record, and then he's just gonna go off into the sunset. But the Patriots are playing well, and that's concerning because I didn't think that they were gonna play as well as they are. Because name me one wide receiver in that team. They got two really good tight ends, and they have one converted quarterback as a decent wide receiver. Obviously, Patriots have always had a good offensive line, something I wish the Buffalo Bills had, because the Bills clearly don't have a good offensive line. And if I'm just gonna get on this rant. I am sick and tired of Dion Dawkins. I don't think he's a franchise left tackle. I just don't. Like I look at him and I see this slow, fat tackle and just always getting beat. Well, okay. I'm sorry. That's an exaggeration. He doesn't always get beat. He's a decent tackle, but that's the thing. He's a decent tackle, and we have a stud for a quarterback. Josh Allen is like if Brett Favre and John Elway had a baby, it'd be Josh Allen. And there's so many things that he does that are amazing, but at the same time, he's gonna give you, the highest highs and some really low lows, and that's the Brett Favre in him. For any of you that remember the Brett Favre era during the when he was with the Green Bay Packers, like he would have fantastic seasons and then he would have awful seasons right afterwards. Like there's a reason why he has so many passing touchdowns and passing yards and an inflated number of interceptions. Um and I just want a beast of a left tackle. I almost want the Bills to move Spencer Brown to left tackle and shift Dion Dawkins to left guard. Because to be honest with you, it's not like Dion Dawkins' length it makes it, his wingspan is makes him a prohibit, that you can't put him at left guard because his wingspan's too long. It's not. Um, so if I, fan in my guest bedroom recording this video could, put together the offensive line with what we have, I would say left to right, it'd be Spencer Brown, Dion Dawkins, Mitch Morse, John Feliciano, and Daryl Williams. Put Feliciano back on right guard. That's where he was playing last season. Obviously, this team cannot run the football, and that's been an issue for a while now. And losses like these make me think back to like when Sean McDermott and Brandon Bean really when they cut Shady. It's like why our one good bell cow. um, and Singletary had a great season, great rookie season. I mean, but since then it's been a little bit downhill. Zach Moss, total bum, in my opinion. I mean, every time he gets the ball, I feel like he never gets. And obviously, our minds are we have a predisposition to think of the bad things as opposed to the good things. But in my mind, when I think of Zach Moss, I think of him hitting the Buffalo Bills offensive lineman and then not even getting past the line of scrimmage. Um, there's no wiggle to his game. He just wants to be a bruiser, and he just doesn't have the physicality or the speed. I mean, Zach Moss has the same measurables as Jonathan Taylor, and you just saw what Jonathan Taylor did to the Buffalo Bills defense. Coming into the game, the number one defense. I wonder where they're going to land off once it's all said and done. Oh my God. And obviously, Tremaine Edmonds was not in the game. And I know I'm on Bill's Twitter all the time. I know that there's a lot of Tremaine Edmonds haters out there, and to all of you, shut up. Tremaine Edmonds is phenomenal. This is another gripe I have with Sean McDermott and his rigid way of running the team. Um, they ask Tremaine Edmonds to do things that don't really make sense with his physical makeup. Blitz him. Blitz Tremaine Edmonds. Like, at least a couple times a game. He would be getting to the quarterback super fast with his athleticism. Yet they just always have him surveying the field, seeing where the defense is going, playing coverage, and stopping the running back if it's a run play. But they never put him in a position to take advantage of his God given talents. And not having, and obviously also Tremaine Edmonds, obviously a very heady player, very smart, calling the plays. He's the quarterback of the defense, so not having him was also a big blow. I don't care that AJ Klein played well against the Jets. He's not. He's not the middle linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. AJ Klein is not better than Tremaine Edmonds on any level. This is this is just how I feel about Sean McDermott, and it's like when everything goes right, when everything is firing on all cylinders, the Buffalo Bills look like world beaters. But the problem is not this is the National Football League. Injuries happen all the time. You can't count that you'll always have everybody, that everybody will be doing their 111th. Coverages are going to be blown. People are going to get injured. It always feels like if a little grain of sand, is dropped on the machinery that is the Buffalo Bills defense, the Sean McDermott defense, it all just falls apart. And I know, those are two starters. But at the same time, those are two starters. Like, you still had everybody else. Your fantastic safety duo, your all-pro corner in Tre'Davious White, your okay corner in Levi Wallace, the defensive line that you've invested two first-round picks in the 2021 draft. Sorry, your sorry, I misspoke. Your first round draft pick and your second round draft pick that you invested into the defensive line in the 2021 draft. And Mary Addison is not a bum. Vernon Butler is. And Harrison Phillips has been a little suspect. And to get 41 points hung on you by a team that has been struggling for a while is just very disappointing. Again, 4 AFC losses, and you still have to play the Patriots twice. And the Patriots are playing good defense. I know that a couple of their recent games, they've kind of beaten up on bad to suspect teams. Because, let's not kid ourselves, the Browns, they're suspect. They're not a great team. And the Falcons, that's a poverty franchise at this point. So surely those defensive performances are not something to hang your hat on. But at the same time, the expectations were that, the Patriots were not going to have this world beater defense because they're old. We're talking about they're playing Dante Hightower, who at this point you know he should be retired with how old he is. Um, and they don't even have some of the secondary that they had in previous years. Like they've shuffled some pieces back there. And what their number one corner is J.C. Jackson, who again very good, but I mean, I I wouldn't call him an All Pro. And yet you have Mac Jones here just throwing for 200 yards every game and somehow finding ways to hang 30, 40 points on teams left, right, and center. At this point, I'm just rambling. I'm just airing all my grievances out. I'm airing all my insecurities about whether the Buffalo Bills can win their division, which I don't think they can at this point. Ye of little faith, maybe. And maybe the Patriots will come back down to earth, but I was kind of hoping that next week the Titans were going to beat them, but the Titans just lost to the Texans, and I think AJ Brown got hurt in that game. So like, what the heck are they gonna do against them? Probably not much. Um, Hopefully the Bills can win it on Thanksgiving. My grandfather and I are planning to watch that game together, and it'd be a sour end to a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner that we're putting together in my family. So hopefully they don't disappoint us. But my God, I I don't know if this team has it in them to bounce back from the this deep in the hole. To be honest with you, I don't know if they have it in them. Something needs to happen. A spark needs to happen. Part of me feels like fire Brian Dable while you're at it. Actually, while I'm talking about Brian Dable, I'll say this: I don't know why, sometimes it's Josh's fault, sometimes it's Brian Dable's fault, but Brian Dable sometimes calls these plays where all the wideouts, all the wide receivers, and tight end include Dawson Knox in there, are running these long developing routes that just Josh cannot hit because he just has four guys in his face because the O line is awful. So it's frustrating to see Brian Dable continuously call all these, long pass plays. And not all of them are long pass plays. There's several plays in there where Josh has a escape valve. He has his check down, and he decides I'm not gonna take the check down because at least you know Josh does the right thing. He looks from deep. He looks. His eyes are always deep to closer to him. He's not looking at the check down first. He's trying to hit the home run every time. The problem is, that sometimes he should really just be taking the check down. But for the most part, it just feels like Brian Dable's just like, I'm just gonna call all these complicated routes, thinking that Josh will have 5 seconds to throw the freaking ball, and he doesn't. Part of me just wants Dable out of here. Because go back to the 2020 season and go to YouTube and look up Josh Allen highlights. And I guarantee you that a majority of his highlights came on broken plays. So was that really Dable's doing, or was that just a stud of a quarterback making a play? And that's really just, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I'm not a coach, it was Josh Allen making a play when there was nothing to be had. And I don't know if the EP system that the Buffalo Bills run is really tailored to his strength. I would love to see Josh Allen play in a West Coast offense like Patrick Mahomes. But again, it's not like the Buffalo Bills could, you know, like next year start having playing the West Coast offense because they don't have the players to run that offense. Unfortunately, as much as I like Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley, their strength is route running, not getting open just based on your God given traits and being able to get open on either juking a guy or just because you have world breaking speed. Anyway, I just wanted to get these thoughts out into the ether. If anybody's listening, thank you for listening, and go Bills.